Before this story begins, pause for just a second. If you believe small acts can change entire lives, tap the like button, and if stories that move your heart and restore your faith in people matter to you, subscribe to the channel so you never miss one. Now, let me tell you a story that starts with silence, and ends with a moment no one in the room would ever forget. The CEO's deaf son never spoke a word, until the janitor pulled out something that left him stunned. No one noticed the boy at first. They noticed the building instead. 48 floors of glass and steel rising over the city like a monument to power, with the company's name etched in silver above the entrance. Inside, executives moved quickly, assistants whispered into headsets, and money changed hands with the click of a pen. At the top floor worked Daniel Harrington, a man the business world called brilliant, ruthless, and unstoppable. But at home, Daniel was just a father who didn't know how to reach his son. Ethan Harrington was 10 years old, with dark, curious eyes and a quietness that followed him everywhere. He was born deaf, and though doctors, therapists, and the best schools money could buy had surrounded him since infancy, Ethan had never spoken a single word. He communicated mostly through gestures and expressions, sometimes simple signs, but mostly through silence. Daniel loved his son deeply, yet every attempt to connect felt like trying to grab smoke with his bare hands. Daniel compensated the only way he knew how, by providing everything. The best tutors, the best technology, private specialists who promised breakthroughs that never came. And when work demanded more time, Ethan came to the office after school, sitting quietly in a glass-walled waiting room while his father ran meetings that shaped markets and crushed competitors. Most employees barely acknowledged the boy. They smiled politely, then hurried past. To them, Ethan was part of the CEO's world, untouchable and distant. Everyone except the janitor. His name was Miguel. Miguel had worked in the building for 7 years. He cleaned floors at night, emptied trash cans full of shredded contracts, and wiped fingerprints off glass walls that never seemed to stay clean. He was invisible to most people, which suited him fine. He noticed things others didn't, like the way Ethan always sat near the window, pressing his palm to the glass as if feeling the city's pulse, or how his eyes followed vibrations more than movement. At first, Miguel only nodded to the boy. Ethan noticed. Then Miguel started leaving small paper cranes on the table where Ethan sat. Ethan noticed that too. One afternoon, Miguel pulled a marker from his pocket and slowly drew a smiley face on a scrap of cardboard. Ethan's lips twitched, just a little. Day by day, a quiet routine formed. Miguel would clean nearby, exaggerating his movements, making playful faces, tapping lightly on surfaces so Ethan could feel the vibrations through the table. Ethan responded by watching more closely, by leaning forward, by smiling without realizing it. Daniel had no idea any of this was happening. One evening, after a brutal board meeting, Daniel walked past the waiting area and stopped. Ethan wasn't staring at the window. He was laughing, silent, yes, but unmistakably laughing, as Miguel pretended to mop like he was dancing. Daniel stood frozen, confused by a soundless joy he had rarely seen on his son's face. Later that night, Daniel confronted Miguel, not unkindly but with the authority of a man used to being obeyed. Miguel simply said, "He listens with his eyes and his hands. You just have to speak the right way." Days passed, then weeks. One rainy afternoon, the building lost power. Elevators stopped, screens went dark, employees panicked, emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows through the halls. Ethan, sensitive to changes in vibration and routine, curled into himself, overwhelmed. Miguel was there. He knelt in front of Ethan and reached into his cleaning cart. From beneath rags and bottles, he pulled out something unexpected, a worn, old notebook. The cover was frayed, the pages thick with sketches. Miguel opened it slowly. Inside were drawings of hands. Hands forming signs, simple words, feelings, stories. Miguel placed the notebook between them and gently tapped the page. He signed slowly, carefully. Ethan's breathing steadied. His eyes widened. He recognized some of the signs. Others were new. Then Miguel turned to a blank page and drew one word. Father. He looked at Ethan and signed it again. Ethan's hands trembled. He lifted them, hesitated, then moved them just as Miguel had shown him. Father. At that exact moment, Daniel stepped into the room. He saw his son's hands in the air. He saw the sign. He saw the tears on Miguel's face. And he felt something inside him crack open that no boardroom victory ever had. Ethan looked at his father and signed it again. Father. Daniel dropped to his knees. He didn't care who saw him cry. From that day on, everything changed, not overnight, not magically, but truthfully. Daniel learned sign language. He started leaving meetings early. He sat with Ethan at night, not trying to fix him, not trying to make him normal, but trying to understand him. Miguel was offered a promotion. He declined. Instead, Daniel funded a program in the building for inclusive communication and education, named not after himself, but after his son. Ethan never spoke a word, but he found his voice. And Daniel finally learned how to listen. The strongest messages don't always come through sound. Sometimes they come through patience, kindness, and the courage to see someone the world overlooks. If this story moved you, remind yourself, and others, that empathy can change lives. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and never underestimate the power of a small moment to rewrite an entire future.